The night sky above Earth's largest radio telescope in Arizona looked perfectly normal until it didn't. At exactly 3:47 a.m., operator Mark Wilson noticed something odd on his screen. The signal patterns were unlike anything he had ever seen before. "Control room, we have an anomaly," he said into his microphone, his voice steady despite his racing heart. The other operators gathered around his station, their faces lit by the blue glow of the monitors. The strange signals grew stronger. What started as a faint blip became a clear pattern of repeating waves. As the team worked to decode the message, more telescopes around the world began picking up the same transmission. Within hours, every major space agency on Earth was alert. NASA, ESA, and others scrambled their best scientists to analyze the data. The message, when finally decoded, was simple but shocking. Help needed. Fleet stranded. Earth assistance required. High-powered telescopes were quickly pointed toward the source of the transmission. What they revealed stunned even the most experienced astronomers. A massive fleet of ships, each larger than anything humans had ever built, hung motionless at the edge of the solar system. The world leaders gathered in an emergency session. Military forces went on high alert, but the alien ships made no aggressive moves. They simply waited, broadcasting their distress signal. After 12 tense hours of global discussion, Earth sent its response. Message received. Please explain your situation. The aliens' reply came quickly. Their fleet of 300 ships had suffered a catastrophic failure in their main propulsion systems. They were stranded, slowly drifting toward a dangerous region of space. But this wasn't a random encounter. They had come to Earth deliberately, seeking humanity's help. Dr. James Reed, the lead scientist at NASA's Communications Center, couldn't believe what he was reading. "They're saying they chose to come here. To us?" he asked his colleague, Linda Brown, who was equally puzzled. The alien transmission continued, explaining that they had been studying Earth for some time. They knew humans were a relatively young spacefaring species, but that was exactly why they needed them. Their advanced technology had failed, and they believed Earth's simpler approach might be their only hope. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. News of the alien fleet spread worldwide, causing both excitement and fear. Markets temporarily crashed, then surged as people realized the economic implications of alien contact. Religious leaders gathered to discuss what this meant for their faiths, and governments worked overtime to create a unified response team. The aliens, who called themselves simply the Fleet, continued sending detailed information about their situation. Their quantum drive systems, far more advanced than anything humans had dreamed of, had suffered a cascade failure. Without these drives, they had no way to generate the massive energy needed for their ship's basic functions. What amazed the human scientists most was the aliens' explanation for why they needed Earth's help. "Your species still uses chemical combustion engines," the aliens transmitted. "You understand principles we have long forgotten in our pursuit of advanced technology. We believe your knowledge of these basic systems might save us." As the world digested this information, something remarkable happened. Instead of panic, a sense of pride began to spread among humans. Their primitive technology, often seen as a sign of their backwardness compared to the stars, might be exactly what was needed. Dr. Reed summed it up best during a global broadcast. "For the first time in human history, we're being called upon to help a civilization far more advanced than our own. Not because they pity us, but because we have something they need, something they've lost in their rush to advance, an understanding of the basics." The United Nations quickly formed an emergency response committee. Space agencies worldwide began preparing their rockets and best engineers for the most ambitious space mission in human history. They named it Operation Throwback, a slightly humorous acknowledgement that humanity's old-school technology would be their greatest asset. As Part 1 of this historic event came to a close, humanity stood ready to prove its worth to the galaxy. Their primitive knowledge might just save an advanced civilization, and in doing so, secure humanity's place among the stars. The The real work was about to begin, and for the first time, humans would be the teachers rather than the students in an interstellar exchange of knowledge. 3 days after first contact, the aliens began transmitting detailed technical information about their ships. In a large conference room at NASA headquarters, engineers and scientists stared in amazement at the holographic displays showing the alien vessel schematics. Dr. Reed walked around the three-dimensional projection, his face illuminated by its blue glow. "Their quantum drives are beyond anything we've ever imagined," he said, pointing to a complex mechanism at the heart of the ship design. "But look here. They've completely abandoned conventional propulsion systems. There's not a single backup." The alien fleet's predicament became clearer as they shared more information. Their civilization had grown so dependent on quantum technology that they had forgotten how to build or maintain simpler systems. When their advanced drives failed, they had no fallback option. "It's like having a car with no spare tire," Linda Brown explained to the world press. "Except in this case, they've forgotten what tires even are." Her simple analogy helped the public understand the situation better than any technical explanation could. The aliens revealed another surprising fact. Humans weren't their first choice for help. They had visited 3 other advanced civilizations first, but those species had also abandoned primitive technology. Earth was their last hope precisely because humans were still developing their space technology. In the conference room, Tom Miller, a veteran rocket engineer, studied the alien ship's power distribution systems. "They're experiencing what we call a cascade failure," he explained to his colleagues. "Their quantum drives didn't just stop working. They're actively preventing any other form of propulsion from being installed." The aliens confirmed Miller's assessment. Their ship's systems were so integrated that removing the failed quantum drives would be like removing a person's nervous system. They needed a solution that could work alongside their existing technology. As the day progressed, more revelations came. The aliens shared their star charts, showing humanity just how vast their civilization was. They had colonized thousands of worlds, all connected by quantum drive technology. But this success had led to their current vulnerability. They had no alternate means of interstellar travel. "They put all their eggs in one basket," Miller said, scratching his head. "And now the basket's broken." The alien transmission continued with an unexpected confession. They admitted that they had once looked down on Earth's primitive space program. The sight of humans using chemical rockets had seemed almost comical to them. Now that same primitive technology represented their salvation. During a break in the technical discussions, Dr. Reed found himself talking with a group of young engineers. "You know what this reminds me of?" he asked them. "It's like those stories of modern people who can't survive in the wilderness, but indigenous tribes can. Sometimes newer isn't always better." The aliens' next transmission brought urgent news. Their fleet was drifting closer to a region of space with dangerous radiation levels. Without working drives, they couldn't change course. They had less than 2 months before their ships would be in serious danger. The pressure was on. Humanity would need to find a way to adapt their primitive technology to work with the aliens' advanced systems, and they would need to do it quickly. Late that night, as most of the team headed home, Miller stayed behind, studying the alien schematics. He noticed something interesting. While the aliens' quantum drives were incomprehensible, their basic needs weren't so different from human vessels. They still needed thrust, power distribution, and navigation. "Maybe," he muttered to himself, "we don't need to understand everything about their technology. We just need to give them what they've lost, the basics." As Part 2 drew to a close, humanity had a clearer picture of both the challenge and the opportunity before them. The aliens' advanced civilization had created incredible technology, but lost touch with fundamental principles. Now, Earth's outdated knowledge might be the key to saving them. The next phase would be crucial, figuring out how to merge humanity's simple but reliable technology with the aliens' complex but failing systems. Time was running out, but for the first time, humans felt confident they could help. Sometimes, being behind in the space race had its advantages. The world had never seen cooperation like this before. Countries that had once been rivals now worked together, pooling their resources and expertise. Every major space agency contributed their best rockets and engineers to what they called Operation Legacy. Tom Miller stood in the massive vehicle assembly building at Kennedy Space Center, watching teams prepare the largest fleet of rockets ever assembled on Earth. 47 launch vehicles stood ready, each modified to carry specialized equipment to the stranded alien fleet. "We're going to need every single one of these," he said to Dr. Reed, who nodded in agreement. "And even then, it's going to be close." The plan was ambitious but simple. They would launch their rockets in waves, carrying basic propulsion systems and tools that could work alongside the aliens' technology. The first wave would establish a base of operations near the stranded fleet. The second would deliver the equipment. The third would bring the engineering teams. Global factories worked around the clock, producing the components needed for this massive operation. Car manufacturers retooled their assembly lines to make rocket parts. Steel mills ran at full capacity. Even toy companies contributed, using their precision manufacturing equipment to create small but crucial components. "It's like World War II," an old-timer at NASA commented, "except this time, we're all on the same side." The aliens continued sending technical data, helping humans understand exactly what they would face. Each transmission revealed more about how advanced and how vulnerable their civilization had become. They had mastered space and time, but forgotten the basics of motion and energy. During a critical planning meeting, Linda Brown made an important discovery. "Look at their power distribution network," she said, pointing to a complex diagram. "It's actually similar to our electrical grid, just operating at a much higher level. We might be able to use that." Miller built on her observation. His team designed a hybrid system that would use human-style chemical rockets to generate initial thrust, then feed that energy into the aliens' power network. It wasn't elegant, but it might work. As the launch date approached, the whole world watched and waited. Children drew pictures of rockets flying to help the alien ships. Schools held special classes about space travel. People everywhere felt part of something bigger than themselves. The first launch day arrived with clear skies and calm winds. As the countdown reached 0, the first wave of rockets roared to life. The ground shook as they rose into the sky, carrying humanity's hopes with them. "There they go," Miller said quietly, watching the rockets climb higher. "First time in history, we're the ones doing the rescuing." The launches continued for 3 days. Wave after wave of rockets pushed through Earth's atmosphere, forming the largest space convoy humans had ever attempted. Each launch was perfect. They couldn't afford any failures. In orbit, the rockets began assembling into their travel formation. The sight of so many human vessels moving together amazed even veteran astronauts. From the ground, it looked like a string of bright pearls moving across the night sky. The alien fleet sent a message of hope. "We watch your approaching ships with gratitude and admiration. Your species has accomplished in days what others said was impossible." As the human fleet moved further from Earth, Miller and his team prepared for their own launch. They would travel with the third wave, bringing their expertise to the actual rescue operation. The pressure was enormous. They had one chance to get this right. "Remember," Miller told his team during their final briefing, "we're not trying to match their technology. We're bringing them something they've lost. The simple solutions they've forgotten." The last wave of rockets stood ready on their launch pads. Tomorrow, Miller and the other engineers would begin their journey to the stranded fleet. They carried with them humanity's greatest strengths: creativity, determination, and an understanding of the basics that had built their civilization. As Part 3 concluded, humanity had committed everything they had to this rescue mission. Their primitive technology was heading to save an advanced civilization, proving that progress wasn't always about moving forward. Sometimes it was about remembering where you came from. The real test still lay ahead, but Earth had done something remarkable. They had united as never before, reaching for the stars not to take, but to give, to save. After 12 days of space travel, the human fleet finally reached the stranded alien ships. Up close, the alien vessels were even more impressive than the telescope images had shown. Each ship was the size of a small city, their hulls shimmering with an otherworldly metal. Miller and his team suited up for their first inspection visit to the alien command ship. As their shuttle approached the massive vessel, they felt like ants next to a whale. The docking procedure was smooth, thanks to the adapters the aliens had created based on human specifications. Inside the alien ship, the situation was worse than they had expected. The failed quantum drives had affected every system, from life support to artificial gravity. The aliens moved through their corridors using mechanical handles, as their gravity systems worked only intermittently. "This is bad," Miller said, studying the main engine room. "The quantum drive didn't just fail. It's like it's fighting against itself." The advanced technology was caught in a loop, trying to repair itself, but only causing more damage. The alien engineers, tall beings who moved with careful grace in the low gravity, watched as the humans examined their systems. They had a hard time understanding why the humans wanted to see everything in person instead of just using the technical data. "Sometimes you need to feel the machine to know what's wrong," Miller explained, running his hand along a power conduit. The aliens looked confused but respectful. Linda Brown discovered the first major problem. The aliens' power system was so advanced that it rejected any simple energy input. It was like trying to power a quantum computer with a potato battery. The systems weren't just incompatible, they were actively hostile to each other. "We need to think smaller," Miller told his team during an emergency meeting. "Instead of trying to power their whole ship at once, let's start with just one system. Get that working, then expand from there." The aliens were surprised by this approach. Their technology was all interconnected. The idea of fixing one system at a time seemed primitive to them. But they had no choice but to trust the humans. Working in shifts, the human engineers began installing their hybrid power systems. They started with a single cargo bay, using chemical rockets to generate power that they carefully fed into the alien systems. The first test failed spectacularly, blowing out half their equipment. "Well," Miller said, wiping soot from his face, "now we know what not to do." The second test went better, but they still couldn't maintain stable power for more than a few minutes. The alien technology seemed to reject the human modifications, like a body rejecting a transplanted organ. Time was running out. The fleet was drifting closer to the dangerous radiation belt, and the aliens' protective shields were starting to fail. They had less than 3 weeks to find a solution. During a break, Miller noticed something interesting. The aliens had paintings on their walls, abstract designs that reminded him of circuit boards. When he asked about them, the aliens explained that they were ancient art, from when their species first developed quantum technology. Looking at these paintings, Miller had an idea. "We're trying to force our technology to work with theirs," he told his team. "But what if we could make their systems think our power was part of their original design?" The concept was radical. Instead of fighting against the quantum technology's self-repair systems, they would try to work with them. They would disguise their primitive power source as something the alien ships would recognize and accept. As Part 4 drew to a close, the human team worked frantically to redesign their hybrid systems. The aliens watched with growing hope as these strange beings from Earth refused to give up, keeping at the problem with stubborn determination. "Your species is different," one of the alien engineers told Miller. "When we face a problem, we look for the most advanced solution. But you look for the solution that works." Miller smiled at this. Sometimes the best way forward was to take a step back. They had 3 weeks to save the fleet, and now they had a plan that might just work. The real question was whether they could implement it in time. Miller's idea sparked a complete redesign of their rescue plan. Instead of fighting against the alien ship's quantum systems, they would work to deceive them. The human team began modifying their equipment to emit energy signatures that mimicked the aliens' original technology. It's like writing a fake ID for our engines, Linda Brown explained to the alien engineers. We're making your ships think our power source is something they recognize. The first test of this new approach yielded promising results. They installed a modified rocket system in a small maintenance bay, disguising its output to match quantum patterns. For the first time, the alien ship accepted the human power source without resistance. Look at these readings, Miller said excitedly, pointing to his tablet. The hybrid system was maintaining stable power levels. Better yet, the alien ship's self-repair systems were actually helping to regulate the energy flow instead of fighting against it. The aliens were fascinated by the human solution. One of their senior engineers spent hours watching Miller's teamwork, studying how they combine mechanical skills with creative problem-solving. We had forgotten that technology can be simple, the alien admitted. We kept trying to solve our problems by making things more complex. Working around the clock, the human engineers began scaling up their solution. They installed disguised power units throughout the alien command ship, each one carefully tuned to mimic quantum energy signatures. The ship's systems gradually accepted these new power sources, like a body accepting medicine. The breakthrough came when they successfully powered an entire section of the massive vessel. Emergency lighting switched to full power, gravity stabilized, and life support systems returned to normal operation. It's working, Linda shouted, her voice echoing through the now bright corridors. The aliens celebrated in their own way, their skin changing colors and patterns that the humans learned meant joy. But they weren't done yet. The command ship was just one vessel out of hundreds. They needed to modify their solution to work on the entire fleet, and time was still running out. Miller developed a training program, teaching teams of alien engineers how to install and maintain the hybrid systems. The aliens proved to be quick learners, especially once they understood the basic principles behind the human technology. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways, Miller told them. Your quantum drives are incredible, but they're also incredibly complex. Our rockets might be simple, but they're reliable. The human fleet began distributing modified power units to all the alien ships. The aliens themselves started helping with the installations, their knowledge of their own vessels combining perfectly with the human technical solution. As more ships came back online, the aliens made an unexpected discovery. The hybrid power systems actually worked better than they had hoped. While not as powerful as the quantum drives, they were more stable and easier to maintain. Your solution has taught us something important, the alien fleet commander told Miller. We had become so focused on advancement that we forgot the value of reliability. The human engineers worked tirelessly, moving from ship to ship. Each successful installation brought them closer to saving the entire fleet. The aliens began marking successfully converted ships with a special symbol, a combination of human and alien writing that meant renewed. Linda Brown found herself teaching alien children about basic engine principles in their newly powered school section. The young aliens were fascinated by the ancient technology that had saved their homes. As Part 5 came to a close, over half the fleet had been successfully converted to the hybrid power systems. The aliens were learning to maintain these systems themselves, combining their advanced knowledge with human practical skills. The project was ahead of schedule, but they couldn't celebrate yet. The radiation belt was still approaching, and they needed every ship operational to move the fleet to safety. Miller looked out at the vast array of vessels, some now glowing with the steady light of working power systems, others still waiting for their turn. We're going to make it, he said confidently. One ship at a time. We're going to save them all. The aliens had started calling the human engineers the Renewers, a title that filled the Earth team with pride. They were not just fixing ships, they were helping an advanced civilization rediscover the importance of fundamental principles. Just as victory seemed within reach, disaster struck. The proximity sensors on the outer ships detected a massive solar storm heading directly toward the fleet. This wasn't just any storm, it was one of the largest ever recorded. We have 18 hours before it hits, Miller announced to the combined human and alien engineering teams. They had converted nearly 80% of the fleet, but the remaining ships were still powerless. Without working shields, those vessels would be destroyed by the incoming radiation. The alien command center became a hub of frantic activity. Their advanced sensors showed the full magnitude of the threat, a wall of charged particles that would overwhelm even fully powered ships' defenses. "We need to think differently," Linda Brown said, studying the storm data. "We can't finish all the conversions in time, but maybe we don't have to." She explained her idea. The powered ships could extend their shields to protect their powerless neighbors, but only if they could link their systems together. It would strain the hybrid power units beyond their designed limits, but it was their only chance. The aliens were skeptical. "Linking shields requires precise power management," their chief engineer warned. "With these hybrid systems, it's never been attempted." Miller knew the risks. If they pushed their makeshift power units too hard, they could trigger a cascade failure across the entire fleet. But the approaching storm left them no choice. "Start moving the unpowered ships into clusters," he ordered. "Each powered vessel will protect 3 others." As the fleet reorganized, the human engineers worked to modify their hybrid systems for the extra load. They stripped backup units for parts, pushing each power source to its absolute limit. The storm's outer edges reached them with 12 hours remaining. Static electricity made tools stick to walls, and communication systems crackled with interference. The engineers worked through it all, their spacesuits protecting them from the increasing radiation. "Power levels are rising beyond safe limits," Linda reported, watching the readings climb. The hybrid units were getting dangerously hot, but they had to hold together. In the command center, Miller coordinated the shield linking procedure. Each powered ship extended its protective field, creating a web of energy around its powerless neighbors. The strain on the systems was enormous. Hull temperature rising on Section 7. An alien technician called out. Shield integrity at 60% and falling. The storm's main body was now just hours away. Some of the hybrid units began to fail, their makeshift components burning out under the stress. Engineering teams rushed from ship to ship, replacing damaged parts with whatever they could find. Linda discovered that the quantum remnants in the alien ships were actually helping, their damaged systems somehow strengthening the hybrid power output. It wasn't supposed to work, but in this moment of crisis, human and alien technology merged in unexpected ways. "The storm is peaking," someone shouted. The command center's windows darkened automatically as radiation levels soared. Everyone watched the power readings, hoping their jury-rigged solutions would hold. Multiple systems failed at once. 3 ships lost power completely, their shields flickering out. Without hesitation, Miller ordered nearby vessels to double their shield coverage, even knowing it might burn out their engines. For 2 terrifying hours, they rode out the storm. Engineers worked in teams, rushing to repair failed systems before the radiation could penetrate the weakening shields. The aliens proved invaluable, their intimate knowledge of their ships helping the humans make repairs faster than should have been possible. Finally, the storm began to pass. As the radiation levels dropped, a cheer went up in the command center. Against all odds, they had saved every ship in the fleet. The hybrid power systems were badly damaged, some burned out completely. But they had proven something important. Human and alien technology could work together, creating something stronger than either could achieve alone. As Part 6 ended, the fleet hung in space, battered but intact. The emergency had forced them to push their solutions beyond their limits, but in doing so, they had discovered new possibilities. "We didn't just survive," Miller told the gathered engineers, both human and alien. "We learned something important today. Sometimes the best solutions come from combining the old with the new." The aliens agreed. They had witnessed firsthand how their advanced technology and humanity's practical engineering could complement each other. Now they just had to repair the damage and finish converting the remaining ships before another crisis hit. After surviving the solar storm, The combined human and alien teams worked with renewed energy. The crisis had proven their hybrid technology could work under extreme conditions, and now they had just 1 week to finish converting the remaining ships. Miller stood in the alien fleet's main observation dome, watching teams of humans and aliens working together on the final installations. What had started as a rescue mission had become something much more, a true collaboration between two very different civilizations. "Your people have changed us," the alien fleet commander told him. "We thought we were asking for a simple repair, but you've given us something far more valuable." The aliens had begun incorporating human engineering principles into their own designs. They created backup systems, redundant power supplies, and manual overrides, all concepts they had abandoned centuries ago in their pursuit of advanced technology. Linda Brown led the final phase of installations, teaching alien engineers how to maintain and repair the hybrid systems. "Remember," she told them, "sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution." The aliens proved to be excellent students. They combined their deep understanding of quantum mechanics with newly learned human practical skills. The result was a new type of engineering that took the best from both worlds. As the last ship was converted, Miller received unexpected news from Earth. The world's governments had unanimously agreed to establish a permanent engineering exchange program with the alien civilization. Humans would teach the aliens about practical engineering, while the aliens would share their quantum technology knowledge. "We're calling it the Legacy Program," Dr. Reed told him via video link, "because it all started with you proving that our legacy technology still had value." The alien fleet was finally ready to move. With their hybrid power systems functioning perfectly, they could navigate away from the dangerous radiation belt. But they didn't leave immediately. Instead, the alien commander made an announcement that stunned everyone. Their civilization had decided to establish a permanent base in Earth's solar system. They would build a space station where humans and aliens could continue working together, sharing knowledge and technology. "Your world reminded us of something we had forgotten," the commander said. "True progress isn't about abandoning the past. It's about building on it." The first test of the fully converted fleet was a sight to behold. Hundreds of massive ships, their hulls gleaming in the starlight, moved in perfect formation. Human chemical rockets worked alongside alien quantum systems, proving that the two technologies could not just coexist, but enhance each other. As the fleet prepared for its journey home, they left behind 5 of their largest ships. These would form the core of the new joint space station, a symbol of the partnership between the two civilizations. Miller watched as human construction ships began arriving from Earth, ready to start work on the station. In just a few months, this region of space would become a hub of interstellar cooperation and learning. "You know what's funny?" Linda said, standing beside him. "They came to us because they thought we were primitive. Now they're staying because they realize that being advanced doesn't always mean being better." The alien fleet departed with a spectacular display, their hybrid drives creating a light show that would be visible from Earth. But they would return soon, bringing more of their people to learn from humanity's primitive wisdom. As Part 7 concluded, Miller prepared to return home. He had achieved more than just saving the stranded fleet. He had helped bridge the gap between two civilizations. The aliens had learned the value of simple, reliable technology, while humans had gained access to advanced scientific knowledge. The legacy program would continue for generations, producing engineers who understood both the practical and the theoretical, the simple and the advanced. Earth had earned its place among the stars not by abandoning its past, but by showing how valuable that past could be. "Sometimes," Miller said, taking one last look at the departing fleet, "you have to look backward to move forward." The story of how humans saved an alien fleet became legend, taught in schools across two civilizations. It reminded everyone that true wisdom comes not from having the most advanced technology, but from understanding when to use the right tool for the job, even if that tool seems outdated by galactic standards. The future would be built not on quantum drives alone, but on the combined knowledge of both worlds. And it all started because some aliens needed help with their engines.